What is going on YouTube? This is JoJo Speaks with Faithful Warrior Ministries, and I am doing my review on Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 16, you guys, and I'm sort of kind of doing a review on episode 4, but just kind of giving my thoughts overall on the ladies thus far. I will say that the season has been decent. I honestly was not looking forward to watching this season before it was announced. I've never been the biggest fan of Housewives of Atlanta, and I've never been the biggest fan of Portia Williams. There's no hate towards her whatsoever. It's just that she's never been my favorite. Even from her first season on Housewives of Atlanta, I have not cared for Miss Portia Williams. And so with her coming back, it seems like they were going to try to make her the Nene of the show. And I was not looking forward to watching that. However, that does not seem to be the case. It seems to be that the time has been divvied between the women pretty evenly for the most part. So I will say that I have enjoyed the season for the most part. The first thing that I want to address is Portia's whole issue with Drew filming with Dennis and the fact that Drew has decided to work with Dennis and have Dennis be her executive producer on her upcoming album that she's going to be putting out. I understand everyone's curiosity as to why Drew chose to have Dennis be her executive producer, where no one has heard that Dennis has been working on music, and Atlanta is like a hotbed for, really, really good producers, writers, and things of that nature in that area. I mean, the Atlanta music scene is huge, right along with New York and LA, and it's up there. And so I understand why a lot of people are questioning why is it that Drew has chosen Dennis out of all people to executive produce. But Drew did say that Dennis reached out to her, offering his help to assist her with her music endeavors. And so, who's going to turn that down? Especially when Drew says she's worked with a lot of producers in the past, and she just wanted to give Dennis a try. Now, Portia had a scene with Dennis on episode 3 where she had her daughter, and she was asking him, why are you working with Drew? Like, why do you have to do this? And Dennis pretty much says that I just want to help Drew out, and she's a good friend of mine, and there's nothing going on but between us. And then Portia tells Dennis that what Drew was saying is completely different from what Dennis is saying, where from where I'm standing, it seems like Dennis is saying the exact same thing that Drew is saying, is that, we're just working together. There's no hanky-panky going on. There's nothing going on between us. And then after that scene, the both Portia and Dennis get into the car, and Portia literally says to Dennis, "If I catch you filming with another woman on this cast, is going to be a problem." And this tells me that Portia really wants to be in control of the way that she is seen on this show. She does not want any type of negativity or anything shady going on concerning her by way of another cast member. And while I can understand why she has this stance, I don't think that is a viable expectation when you're on a reality TV show. People are going to find ways to come at you no matter how much control you want to try to have over it. They're going to find a way. And I don't think that Drew is doing this maliciously against Portia in any way, shape, or form. Drew just does not come across to me as that type of person. I think Drew is just happy to still be on the show. She's happy to still have a storyline. She's happy to still have a peach. So I don't see the issue. And then when they were arguing about it in episode 2 at Shamia's birthday party, Portia's like, I don't care. I don't care. She was in like 3 different confessional looks saying how much she does not care about Drew working with Dennis. But then in the same token, she's like, well, this is just my baby daddy. And, you can find someone else. And, it's so she's saying that she doesn't care, but then in the same vein, her words are clearly showing us that she obviously cares that someone is working with her baby's daddy, Dennis. And I don't know if it's because I'm not a woman. I don't know if it's because I'm not a mother. I don't know if it's because I don't have a baby father, but I'm thinking, why is this such a big deal? I mean, you're just co-parenting with this man, and you have a co-worker that is working with this man. Has nothing to do with you whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Once again, I don't think Drew has done this to kind of shade Portia and be like, "Oh, I'm working with your baby's daddy, and he's helping me out with my album." And it's. I don't think that's it. Drew, to me, has never had those tendencies to obviously or clearly be shady towards another person. Drew has been more of a defensive type of cast member, whereas if she has to deal with someone, she waits until it comes to her. She's not going to do anything outwardly shady or outwardly mean to someone else just for a storyline. That's more on the Kenya side of things. You know what I'm saying? But Drew has never been that type to conjure up some type of storyline to make it so that makes another cast member look bad. So to me, I think Portia is clearly telling on herself, and is obviously upset about Dennis filming with someone else. And I understand she did bring Dennis into the fold, but once Dennis comes into the fold, everyone would have access. At least in my opinion, everyone would have access to him because you brought him into the fold, and so he's obviously a part of this show now. With him being a part of this show, there's a possibility that he's going to end up filming with other women that are on the cast of the show that you're on, Portia. So once again, this just furthers my stance on Portia that I just do not care for her. Like, just make up your mind. Make up your mind. Now, I don't know if Portia is having this type of reaction just because she's on a reality show and she wants to create drama for the reality show and have this as a part of her storyline for the reality show. I'm hoping that that is the case, but I have a funny feeling that she's genuinely upset about Drew working with Dennis. And I really don't see the big issue now. In episode 4, Drew was filmed with Dennis in the recording studio, and for Drew to tell Portia, I'm going to be filming with Dennis, and this is probably the reason why. I'm sure we're probably not going to see Drew and Dennis out, having lunch or dinner or anything of that nature, because they're not that type of friends. Now, she did say that she only texts with Dennis, and then cut to the executive producers showing clips of her actually on the phone with Dennis. Drew had denied ever being talking to Dennis on the phone, so that was kind of a dumb thing. Drew is been seen to be not the best truth teller. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes she will lie on the spot to try to make it so that she looks better than she would have looked if she told the truth. And so Drew, you gotta do a little bit better with that. Like, really the only reason why I want Drew to be on the show so that we can see Ralph, because I think Ralph is fine as hell. But Drew has never been my favorite housewife. I honestly don't know why she's on the show. I understand that she's an actress. She was in the Crazy Sexy Cool biopic on VH1. She did great with that. So, and she's been on on other movies and TV shows and things of that nature. Don't ask me what her Wikipedia page shows that she's been on, because I don't know and I don't care. But I'm supporting Drew as far as this argument is concerned. Shamia. Shamia being on the show for the last couple of years as a friend of Candy, as a friend of Portia. And so I'm glad that she is on the show. I think she brings wealth to the show. She obviously has a beautiful mansion. She always obviously has a beautiful family. And I love that side of things. However, Shamia is coming off to me extremely performative, as though she's trying too hard, at least in my opinion, to make her mark on the show. And my thing is like, girl, you've already got the peach. You don't have to do all these extra things to make it seem as though you're much grander than you really are. Like, your money speaks for itself. We already see how you are. I would love for Shamia to act like she's on Housewives of Beverly Hills or something of that nature, where, excuse me, where everybody has their own money, everybody has their own thing, and they really don't have to shove it into people's faces. And it seems like Shami is trying to prove something, and you've already proven it with the piece that you have in your hand in the intro. You don't have to you don't have to overdo it, and for me, Shamia is overdoing it slightly, and that's a little bit concerning for me. She doesn't have to do all the things that she finds herself doing. I think she's doing a little bit too much, at least just in my opinion. I feel as though my favorite housewife of this season is Kelly. I love her entrepreneurship. I love the fact that she's doing her own thing. She's getting a divorce in the middle of the divorce. And so, she's making sure that she's making her own money. She said that she's trying to generate generational wealth for her children. And I truly, truly do appreciate that. And Kelly also speaks her mind, and she's not afraid to speak her mind. And I love that fact about Kelly. I love that she is unapologetic about who she is. She makes no apologies for who she is. If she needs to, give an apology, as she did with Portia, well, she didn't necessarily apologize to her, but she cleared up things with Portia because Kelly had said to Shamia along with Britt, why did she take that girl's husband? You know what I'm saying? So I understand why Kelly asked that question. Now, do I think that she really cared about that answer? I don't think so. I think she was just bringing that up for reality TV show's sake, which is, understandable when you're on a reality TV show. You have to create drama. And that's exactly what Kelly was doing. And some can see that as being too much, as I was saying that Shamia is doing too much, but I think that's just par for the course. I think that's something that's to be expected when it comes to these reality shows. But I absolutely love Kelly. Now a few people have been talking about her alleged plastic surgery. To me, I don't see it that much. A lot of people have been talking about her lips. To me, her lips look normal to me. I don't know if I'm just not seeing something that everybody else is seeing, but I do love Kelly. Britt. I think Britt is an interesting addition to the show. I really can't put my finger on whether I necessarily like her or not, per se. At least not yet. I really haven't gotten a good idea of who she really is. I did say in one of my Hot Topics and Social Commentary shows, join me live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., that my eyebrow was raising up when I saw Britt's husband. And that was in the first episode. Now, seeing episodes 2 through 4, that opinion has changed a little bit. I think that was just my first impression of him, but I think he's just a different type of man. I don't want to say that some people are saying that he is he might possibly be LGBTQIA plus in the community, and I don't think we want to rush through that conclusion just yet. I don't think we've seen any definitive evidence that he might be one of the girls. I don't want to say that yet. However, I will say that he seems to be quite dismissive when it comes to Britt when she's trying to bring up certain topics such as having a child. She had a scene. I think it was this past in the third episode with her mother, talking with her husband about possibly bringing her mother into their home, so that her mother can sell her home. And she's also talking about having a baby. And, she said that he does have a 15-year-old daughter, but he does want to have a son. Which is understandable, but his argument has been thus far, we'll get to it when we get to it. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And so I do. It's not that I don't like Brit. It's just that I really can't decide whether I like her or I don't. But she hasn't, turned me off in any way, shape, or form. So I do like that. Now, Angela. I do love a tall woman. So Angela is a beauty. She's married to Charles Oakley, a former NBA player. And I love her entrepreneurship as well. She's renovating houses and she's got this whole thing going on. And I do like seeing her do her thing. I do enjoy her, making her moves and things of that nature. Now, I will say Charles Oakley is slightly dismissive as well. However, Charles is a man of a certain age. And so you once those people are kind of set in their ways, it's really kind of hard to change those things. And I think Angela has come to the point in her life where she's accepted that. Now, this whole thing between Angela and Shamia, I think they really got off on the wrong foot. I don't think that Angela was being necessarily shady or disrespectful towards Shamia, and so that whole thing in that store with with Kelly's event in the third episode, where they were going back and forth, Shamia talking about Angela's nose and Angela calling Shamia Flavor Flav and things of that nature. Like, I really feel like that went too far. But I think Shamia, like Angela came to Shamia humbly, trying to smooth things over. And Shamia said, well, I want to meet the real Angela. And Angela was like, this is the real me. What you see is what you get. And Shamia's like, well, I'm not interested. And then she walks off. It's like, To me, that's a doing too much. And then in the next episode, in the fourth episode, when they're going to Angela's, blackout, all black attire, event at this restaurant in Atlanta, where they're saying, is kind of, in the ghetto, you know what I'm saying? But on the inside, it looks real nice. It looks real fancy like. Shamia comes to her with a bottle of oil with a stick sticking out of it, and she gives her apology and tells Angela, I want to work on things. I want to, and to me, this is two stark differences of Shamia. And it's like I can't really put my finger on who Shamia really is. Is she really this shady character and really defensive woman, or is she this kumbaya type of woman who wants everyone to get along and who wants everyone to be on good terms? I can't put my finger on it. I really can't. And so well, while we're talking about this whole meeting, oh, and I also want to mention, I understand that Kenya has no longer has been taken away from the cast because of what she did to Brit at her salon opening. I'm a little bit on the fence as to the decision that was made to remove Kenya from the cast. Now, what she did was a bad thing. No one should ever have to go through that. Of course, those videos and pictures, they're available for public view, so anyone will be able to gain access to those types of things. So, I think Kenya just went too far. I don't believe that she deserved to be removed from the cast, personally, to be honest. Yes, she did go too far. However, it was not this, to me, that's not as bad as having a physical altercation with someone. I do think that physical altercation is grounds for someone being removed from the cast. However, I just think she went a little bit too far. But the fact that they've removed all of Kenya's confessionals from the show, to me, it just makes Kenya look like less than a friend of the show. And she's literally in integral and important scenes in the show. And so to remove her confession, I just don't understand that. I really don't. I am a fan of Kenya now. On her first couple of seasons, I did not like Kenya whatsoever, but I'm loving the growth, the reality TV show growth. I don't think it's Kenya's personal growth, but the reality TV show arc that we've seen with Kenya, it seems like she's gotten better as time has gone on. And I've really enjoyed what Kenya brings to the show. And I think Kenya is extremely important to the show. And I just think that it's unfortunate that Kenya is no longer on the cast. I hope that they do bring Kenya back, hopefully next season, or within a season or two. I think Kenya is an integral part of the show, and I think it's important that she remain on the show. But, Bravo make the decision to remove her from the show, and that's their decision to make. So let's get to this whole event that Angela's having. And so Angela has this game where everyone's going to ask questions. However, Kelly does mention that Drew didn't buy anything during her event at this Balmain store. And Drew says, I actually brought my son a blazer, which cost over $2,000. And Kelly wants, she wants evidence that, money was spent. And I thought Kelly went a little bit too far. But again, I think it's just a reality show type of deal that, she just wants to bring up drama for the sake of having drama on the show. But anyways, and so we get to this part of the show where they all are writing down questions for other girls on the cast, and those girls have to answer those questions. And so someone asked Shamia, what did she do to thank her husband for that Rolls Royce? And she makes a couple of sexual innuendos, and once again, for me, that's doing quite a bit. That's doing a little bit too much. You're a woman of a certain age. You don't have to make it obvious that you're sexually active. We understand you're a married woman. We understand what married people do. You don't have to show out like that. I don't think that was necessary, to be honest. You wouldn't see Kenya doing that. I don't think you would even see Portia doing that, or Drew, for that matter, doing that. So for Shamita to do it, it's a little off-putting for me at least. And so another person asked Kenya two questions concerning Brittany, to ask her to, why do you have to ask Brittany certain questions? Kenya asked Brittany about her ring on the first episode at Shamia's party. And it was a whole thing. Brittany got, a little bit offended by what Kenya was saying, but Kenya was just that's who Kenya is. That's what Kenya does. Kenya's shady, so you should expect that type of thing. Just don't take it to heart. You don't have to take Kenya so seriously. I never take Kenya seriously at all whatsoever. I just accept whatever Kenya brings to the show. So for me, it's Brit was she's overreacting to me in a way. And Kenya, first of all, I will have to say the fact that Kenya showed up to this all black affair in this turquoise blue type of looking dress, like, but it's Kenya, so what else do you expect? She said that she doesn't have anything black in her closet. Okay, Kenya, whatever you say. But anyways, so they get into this whole altercation, and Britt actually threatens Kenya with pistols, and you don't know who I am, and you keep going the way you going, you're gonna find out who I am, and I got my pistol in my purse, and to threaten someone with physical violence and with gun violence at that moment. I hope I can say that word on YouTube. I hope that that doesn't get me flagged or anything, but to threaten another woman on the show simply because she asked you about her ring, and it's not that big of a deal. And I love the fact that Kenya was paying it dust. I love the fact that Kenya wasn't even paying any attention to what Britt was saying. That's what a true professional and OG in the game, that's how she reacts. And I love the fact that Kenya and Portia are on much better terms. I'm glad that the fact that both of them are mothers has caused them to come closer, has caused them to be able to leave the past in the past and move forward. I do appreciate that growth from Portia. I will say that. I do appreciate that, seeing that from Portia. And I hope that it is genuine. I hope that it is genuine. Now, Kenya did hear everything that Britt ended up saying, and to me, that made Britt look weak. I did think that if why would you threaten someone with a weapon? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not necessary. To me, it's just really not necessary. Now, we see in the preview for the next episode that the fifth episode will be the episode that Kenya brings out the picture of Britt. I'm thinking she's performing fellatio on someone on her OnlyFans, whatever the case might be. I understand why Kenya did it. I just don't think that she should have done it. And Kenya's never done anything to this extent thus far on her tenure on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So I'd love to get into Kenya's head. And Kenya did say on the Tamron Hall show that she was threatened, which she was clearly threatened. But it is what it is. But I am enjoying the season thus far. Once again, Kelly is my favorite. I do like Angela. I think Angela might be, excuse me, my second favorite on the show. I don't even want to consider Kenya because Kenya is not even a part of the cast, but I am enjoying the show thus far, and I will continue doing reviews as the season goes on. Thank y'all so much for joining me for this review. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Press that big red subscribe button. It is free and easy to do. Make sure you press the like button. Let me know you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out on my channel. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on season 16 of Housewives of Atlanta thus far. How are you liking the girls? Who's your favorite? Who's your least favorite? Let me know down in the comments. Press the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And share JoJo Speaks with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody know that JoJo Speaks is out here in these YouTube streets. Once again, this is JoJo Speaks from Faithful Warrior Ministries, signing out. See you guys on the next video. Peace out, you guys.